What kind of person do you want to be? Most people never stop to ask themselves this question, but you've probably thought about it a lot. In fact, I'm willing to bet that you're probably paralyzed. There are just so many things out there that you could potentially become. And we graduate from high school. We go into university and we look for that job, that career. And at the end of the day, after you've gone to your university lectures, after you've worked your shift at your job, you come back home and you scroll social media and you see the limitless potential that other people are honing with things like personal brands, drop shipping, and all these get-rich-quick schemes that make you question, what am I even doing with my life? I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. I used to struggle with this when I graduated from high school. I was 18 and I was sold the lie that if I got good marks in school, that everything would work out. I would find the job that I wanted and I would make good money so I wouldn't have to slave away at a labor job. At least that's what my parents told me, and that's what the teachers at my school made you believe. But reality hit differently. I was incredibly lost when I graduated. I wasn't around my friends anymore, and I wasn't around the teachers that told me that this was the path that I should take. But I also remember the night that things started to change. You see, after I graduated, my high school friends would throw parties where we would just meet in my friend's backyard and we would just drink the night away. And I remember on one of these nights, I went out and I drank as usual and we were just doing stupid stuff in my friend's backyard. But I came home early that night, around 11 p.m. and I remember stepping into the shower and sobering up. And then suddenly, this all too familiar feeling just hit me out of nowhere. You see, I had been to these parties before, and I had been out drinking, and I used to spend my time playing video games a lot after I graduated. And this feeling of emptiness that I'd felt so many times before, it was the same emptiness that I would feel after a gaming session, or it was the same emptiness that I would feel after coming back after hanging out with my friends. It was this feeling that I couldn't really describe, but it just sucked the life out of me. You see, that night I had a realization about what I was doing with my life. I realized that everything that I was doing, the partying, the alcohol, and the video games, it was about distraction. These thoughts, this feeling of emptiness, it would hit me whenever I was alone, whenever I didn't have something to distract myself with. So I would needlessly play hours of video games, even to the point where it wasn't fun anymore. I would go out drinking, and I would drink so much that I would forget what happened in the night. And I would hang out with my friends so much that I never had any time alone. And I realized I was doing all this because I was running away from the feeling that I didn't know myself. I was running away from the feeling of uncertainty. I was running away from the feeling of not having a purpose. And that night, as I took that shower, and I realized that this feeling just kept coming back no matter what I did, I made a promise to myself. And that promise was to never run away again, to spend more time with myself and try to understand why I'm getting this feeling. And of course, after that night, I would love to tell you that I stopped playing video games and I stopped going out with my friends and I stopped drinking. But in reality, it took me about 1 to 2 years to fully stop the bad habits. Change doesn't happen overnight. But one thing that did change was I was spending a lot more time with myself. I remember I would sit on this bed right here and I would just stare at the wall and observe my thoughts. By observing my thoughts, the thoughts that I was so afraid of, the thoughts of uncertainty, the thoughts of hopelessness, and the thoughts of purposelessness. These thoughts that I had been avoiding for years, they were exactly what I needed. See, when you're in my situation that I was in, maybe 4 years ago, there's 2 choices that you can make. The first one is to continue distracting yourself, to continue running from the thoughts that you're so afraid of, and to fall deeper into despair. Because when you don't have those things to distract yourself, when you're all alone, in solitude with your own thoughts, you won't ever be happy. And you'll never truly know what lies beneath those insecurities of yours. Or you have the choice to face those thoughts head on, to spend more time with yourself and to listen to your thoughts. You can face the discomfort head on. I had avoided my thoughts because I hated the way that I saw myself. And I hated the idea of just sitting there getting more depressed and falling into a rabbit hole of negative thoughts. But when I started to spend more time with myself, just staring at the wall and listening to my thoughts, I started to realize that they were actually just my inner desires manifesting themselves in the form of negative thoughts. Now, what do I mean by this? I realized that I had a terrible self-image. So instead of just listening to the thought, I decided to get out there and change it. I signed up to the gym and I started working on my appearance like I should have been all those years ago. I remember another thought that I had was, I just felt so alone when I was by myself. You know, I felt like no one truly understood me and I could never truly be myself with my high school friends or even people that I met at university. So as I started to get this thought more and more, I started to seek out friendships that actually fulfilled me. I started to seek out the friendships of the people that were unapologetically themselves because I wanted to embody that as well. I sought out meaningful friendships instead of surface level connections. I basically had all these suppressed desires buried under these negative thoughts, which were getting buried even more due to the distractions that I would willingly let in my mind, like video games, like hanging out with friends, and drinking excessive amounts of alcohol. It's almost like I had the answers all along, and all I needed to do was listen to my own thoughts. So, if you're someone who feels purposeless, if you're someone who's afraid of their own thoughts, and if you're someone who doesn't have a purpose, who doesn't know who they are, here's my advice to you. Spend time away from friends, from family, from the news, from YouTube, from all these external influences, and have some time for yourself. It'll feel weird at first, and I know it's scary trying to face these thoughts that you get by yourself when you've been afraid of them for so long, but once you start to really listen to what you need, what your mind wants, and what your body wants, you can start to fast track your progress onto becoming 100% authentically yourself and discovering what your purpose in this world is. The more that you sit with yourself, you'll discover what you truly want, away from outside influence. A lot of our desires come from what we wanted to do as a kid. You know, I always looked up to martial artists when I was younger, like Bruce Lee, like Ip Man, like Jackie Chan, you know, those movies where they would pretend to be martial artists. And I would always envision myself becoming an athlete, becoming someone who had a six-pack and who was ripped. And I realized that I needed to go out there and create these goals for myself and to act on them. Otherwise, I was never going to truly find myself. So once you face these thoughts that you've been avoiding, once you truly start to understand what the desires underneath these thoughts are, you start to realize the things that you truly want out of life. And as a result of this, you can start to go after these things. There's nothing stopping you from achieving your dreams. Your potential is limitless. And once you start chasing after these things, people around you, they'll start to notice. They'll start to notice that you don't fit into their narrative of who you are in their mind, into their perception of you. And they'll start to say things like, you've changed. But just remember that when these people that don't know you, that don't know what you want, that don't know the drive that you have inside of you to become a better person, when they start to say that you've changed, just remember that they just don't know how to say that you've grown. Alright. There's always something great around the corner if you would just choose to believe it's there. Join my Discord if you need more personalized help on becoming less of a people pleaser or finding your purpose. It'll be linked in the bio below. Alright. See ya.